Shalom, everybody. There's a little bit of construction going on next door, so we might have a little bit of funny noises going on in the background, but what are you going to do? That's life, right? So I'm coming on live on my new page, Royal Path Tarot, but what I'm about to talk about is actually a story from the Torah, from the sacred ancient scripture of the Torah. And I usually go live in my private group, Shabbat Crew, which you can find here on the Royal Path Tarot page. However, I'm now doing all of my lives in one spot on the Royal Path Tarot page. So for those of you who didn't know that this is an offering I give to the world, welcome. Here it is. So every week for a little over a year now, I've been doing a Kabbalistic or mystical interpretation of the current Torah story. And the Torah stories are shared on every Shabbat. Shabbat is a ritual, just to summarize, just to put it simply, Shabbat is a ritual that happens every Friday night at sundown and ends Saturday night sundown. So it's 24 hours of prioritizing unity consciousness. Just to put it in short, I can go so much deeper with this, but just to give you a little bit of an understanding of what Shabbat is, it's a ritual to honor the merging of the worlds within and without, the merging of above and below, the masculine, the feminine as one. And so tomorrow is Shabbat, and so usually I give this Torah story interpretation every Thursday or Friday morning before Shabbat so that you can prepare and receive the message that is going to be highlighted not only for that particular Shabbat, but also for the week ahead. And so we don't just talk about the story as far as, you know, what the details of the story were. We extract the meaning within it as it applies to us today, because we want to know what is the relativity. What can I actually do with this story? And that is what we really want to use Kabbalah for. We want to use Kabbalah to understand how we can apply this ancient wisdom to here and now. So with that said, tomorrow's Torah story is called Toldot, and it is the Shabbat story about Rivka and Yitzhak, or in English, Rebecca and Isaac, and when they finally conceived their children. And so for 20 years, it said that Rivka cannot conceive, Rebecca cannot conceive children. And she finally is blessed with the miracle of conception. And so in her womb, she becomes pregnant with two children, two boys, twins. And it's Esav and Yaakov, or in English, you might know them as Esau and Jacob. And so the first son, Esav, or Esau, is the one who is representing the masculine, and he's a hunter. And Jacob, or Yaakov, is the one who is the more artistic one. He represents the feminine aspect within us all. He is a scholar. He studies Torah. And so they're opposites, but together they create a whole. And so it was said that while she was pregnant, if one kicked, it would give her a message. So if Esav kicked, it was telling her she was around negative people. And if Jacob kicked, Yaakov, it was telling her she was around a positive energy. So the whole story really represents this idea of duality or polarity. And in this story, just to summarize it so that we can get to the actual point of how it relates to here and now, in this story, what happens is Isaac, the father of the twins, Rebecca's partner, is getting old, and he wants to bless one of the sons to be his heir. And naturally, he wants to pick the older son, who is Esav. And Rebecca, says, oh no, I know that it's the younger son who actually needs the blessing. It's Jacob who is going to be the right leader and do right with this blessing. And so I have to think of a way to trick my husband into giving the blessing to our younger son. And so, long story short, she dresses the younger brother up as the older brother, and because Isaac is getting old and going blind, he can't really tell the difference. And so Jacob approaches and he pretends that he is his older brother, and he mistakenly receives the blessing. And there are many Kabbalistic points to be revealed here. Number one, later in the story, we find out that Isaac realizes what he did, and he realizes he was tricked. But he is not upset because he's old and he's wise, and he knows that if it happened that way, it was meant to be. And so he trusts, and he forgives, and he accepts. So there is a powerful message of acceptance here and trust in what is. So that's the first message to ponder this week, to meditate on this week, to carry with you this Shabbat and this week ahead. Trust. Be careful when you begin to think that you were fooled, you were tricked, it shouldn't have happened this way, it should have happened this other way. When you start to see those thoughts forming in your head, remain as the observer. Become aware of what's happening there in your thought patterns and shift it. No, it doesn't matter that you were tricked. What matters is what happened happened. And now how can you accept it? How can you adapt? How can you work with it? How can you trust that there are no mistakes? There are no tricks in the Creator's plan, in God's plan. There's only divine perfection in the plan. And so when you find yourself thinking thoughts or saying words that reveal you believe you have been tricked, or that you believe something should have happened differently, think again. Rise above. Go to the big picture perspective and remember that there are no mistakes in God's plan. So trust. That's the first message that we receive from the story. And then moving on to the next lesson for the week ahead, we have to remember that these characters in these stories really represent something much deeper than what is on the surface. The characters are also metaphorical, and they're representing different aspects of the same one. For example, you can see Isaac and Rebekah, Esau and Jacob as different aspects of your own mind. In fact, all of the characters of the Torah, and on that note, all of the characters within the Tarot, and all of the people you see in the world and all of the beings, they're all reflections of you because there's only one. So bringing that back to the story, all of the characters in the story are representing different parts of you. So you can see Isaac and Rebekah as the sort of the elder perspectives of the masculine and feminine. Okay? Rebekah was the intuitive aspect. Isaac was the active and masculine aspect, the intellectual aspect. And so what we see here, the play between she lies to him to do what she knows is right for the one, to make sure that the right source received the blessing. It's almost like, no, it's not almost, this is what it is. It's like your intellectual side sometimes has to be tricked by your intuition to do what's right. It's like we have to trick our ego into working for the highest good sometimes because the intellect always wants to think that it's right. And so we have to find sneaky ways to get in through the back door of the mind, so to say, in order to make sure that the highest plan is what unfolds. Okay, so like Isaac, we think we're right and we need to bless this son. But like Rebekah, our intuition is deeper and knows what's really true and what's best for the whole, beyond the intellect. And that's the wisdom that's hidden deep within the subconscious. That's the voice of the intuition. And that's what Rebekah, or Rivka, is representing in this story. And so at first you think, oh, she lies. She's lying to her husband and she's doing this, she's tricking him. That's got to be evil. But when you really rise above the rationalization or the intellectual aspect of the story or the details, the names and the separation of the characters, and you make them one in your eyes, then the truth is really revealed. When you see all the characters as a whole, then you look past this judgment of, oh, she lied, she tricked. and you go to this idea of, well, what needed to be, not just for them, but for us, for the future generations, for the people of today, for the world, for the one. What needed to be? Jacob was the one who needed to receive the blessing. So in that regard, Rebecca did exactly what needed to be done. And so we can move beyond our judgments, beyond our intellectual polarity, our masculine polarity, into our intuitive, more receptive polarity, which reveals the absolute truth. So that's really the second message of the week, a really important message that comes with Parshat Toldot. So as you move through the Shabbos and this week ahead, you really want to think about that. You really want to meditate on that. How do we do what we know we need to do so that we can carry out what needs to be done for the one? And how can we release judgments around what anyone else is doing, thinking that we know what they're doing is so wrong, when really God always has a higher plan that sometimes we can't see from these small perspectives in these human bodies with these human minds. The point is, it doesn't serve us to walk around judging and carrying judgments, and this person lied and this person did this and this person. How is it going to serve you to carry that judgment? Because all it's going to do is create shame within the one collective mind, when all the while God had a plan. So what are you worried about? So, and again, there are so many messages in every Torah story. We could go on for hours. And every year we study the same stories for that reason, because there's always a new level to reach in the wisdom of each of these stories. But for this Shabbat, Toldot 2021, and for the week ahead, let's focus on this simple understanding that God always has a plan. There are no mistakes. You cannot be tricked. You are protected. You are fine. You are safe. No one can fool you, because if you are fooled, or if it looks like on the outside with your human eyes that you're being fooled, look again. Trust God has a plan for you. It's always just a redirection. And this is why when we talk about the survival of the fittest, we come to the conclusion that it's adaptability that is key. It's adaptability that denotes our level of fitness. So if you want to be a survivor, if you want to be someone who moves through life with strength and empowerment, confidence, and trust in the divine, trust in yourself, then it's important to learn adaptability. It's important to cultivate adaptability. Okay, so for example, if you feel you've been tricked or lied to in the days to come, in the next few days, in the week ahead, that's your opportunity to pause and look a little more closely and ask yourself, am I going to waste my precious energy, my time, my thoughts, my emotions on being upset as to wondering why I've been tricked, being angry that I've been tricked? Or am I going to instead exhibit acceptance and say, I trust that this has happened to me for a reason, just like anything else happens to me, both the blessings and the curses, despite my judgment of the experience. Everything happens to me, for me, because the Creator willed it so. There are no exceptions. So instead of wasting our energy on being upset with the cards we've been dealt, instead we can be more like Isaac and trust and remember the divine perfection of God's plan and lean into that, and instead reserve our energy to adapt. Why waste your energy on being upset when in all reality everything's fine, everything's perfect? You're just being redirected. Instead, save your energy, use it for the mission ahead. Use it to keep going, use it to progress. Say, okay, I accept the cards that are being dealt to me right now, and I'm going to look at them, accept them, and move on. I'm going to save my energy and instead just trust. It feels way better to be trusting than to be angry. The anger puts us in a state of separation, separateness consciousness. It disconnects us from ourself and from our larger self, which is all of creation. And you feel depressed, you feel upset, you spiral downward. But instead, if you can just accept that this is a redirection, then you can remain connected. You can remain in unity consciousness, in a high vibration, feeling good, feeling healthy, prosperous, connected to your true self, and connected to your true self, which is reflected in all of creation, and source, God, creator. So remember that this week. Know that your intuition will guide you in ways that are so profound. Know that your intuition will always have your back. Your intuition rules over your intellectualism. It's your intuitive nature that sees past the illusion in this world. Because we live in this world of appearances where when you open your eyes, everything you see around you is already a result of a past thought. Don't be deceived. Close your eyes, look with your inner eye, and allow your intuition to show you the way. Even though Jacob was the younger brother, and the older brother is usually the heir, or the older child is usually the heir, you gotta look deeper. It's a bigger picture than that. Jacob represents the intuition, just like Rebecca, his mother, did. And he was the one to ultimately receive the blessing, no matter what. Despite all adversity, against all odds, he was supported. He received the blessing. And that's always how it will be. Because this is how the beauty of the divine plan unfolds. Intuition wins. So remember that this week, and I'm really wishing you all a meaningful Shabbat. May your reflections and contemplations take you ever deeper. May more light be revealed to you through your own heart, through your own mind this Shabbat. I'd love to hear your insights on the story. If you have some information to share about the story, if you have a favorite resource, or if you have links to videos, other Kabbalistic interpretations, or just your own offering that you want to share about Parshat Toldot, please share it with us in the comments. Share it with us on the Royal Path Tarot wall, or share it in my private group, Shabbat Crew. Come and join us. After I end this video, I'm actually going to go ahead and jump over to our private group, and I'm going to share some more resources and links that have helped me in my studies, in hopes that they may help you too. I love you guys. It's so good to see you all here. And I will see you later today, right here on the Royal Path Tarot page for the new moon activation. In fact, I'm probably going to do it shortly here. Y'all know me. I'm pretty unpredictable with the timing. Never know what you're going to get. But I'll probably do it in about an hour, maybe less. And then I'll see you tomorrow night, back here again, for the recitation of the ancient melody of the Shabbat candle lighting prayer. If you have any questions about Shabbat, for those of you who are new to these videos, if you have any questions, please private message me on the Royal Path Tarot page, and I will surely answer your questions. It's such a passion of mine, and I love to talk about it with you. Thank you for joining me. I'll see you very shortly for the new moon activation. Shalom.